Nobody notices the beginning of things. That's why they become dangerous. A war starts with one decision. A habit starts with one excuse. A relationship starts with one moment. A ruined life starts with one tolerated pattern. But humans are strange. We respect big outcomes while ignoring the small things that created them. Because one feels insignificant. One day won't matter. One lie, one distraction, one missed opportunity won't matter. And that's exactly how lives slowly drift away from themselves. Not through one massive collapse, through small things repeated quietly. That's the terrifying part about reality. It rarely destroys people dramatically. It changes them gradually. One thought at a time, one habit, one decision at a time, and most people never notice it becoming. Because humans are built to react to intensity, not accumulation. Nobody panics when a ship changes direction by 1 degree, but leave it that way long enough and it reaches a completely different continent. Life works the same way. One extra hour wasted every day, one avoided conversation, one repeated excuse, one moment of fear controlling a decision. Tiny things until years pass, and suddenly a person looks at their life wondering, how did I end up here? Not realizing their future was shaped by things that once felt too small to matter. That's the hidden power of one. One thing repeated becomes identity. A person is not built from giant moments, they are built from what they repeatedly allow. One workout becomes a stronger body. One book becomes a different perspective. One race becomes a different life. One sentence can stay in someone else's head forever. Even emotionally, humans change through accumulation. One betrayal rarely destroys trust completely, but enough small disappointments do. One compliment rarely changes self-worth, but repeated words slowly become identity. That's why environments matter so much, because humans absorb repetition quietly. The music you hear, the people around you, the things you watch every day, the thoughts you keep feeding, none of them seem powerful individually, but together they shape the architecture of your mind. And modern life understands this perfectly. That's why attention is fought over so aggressively, not because one video changes you instantly, because a repeated exposure eventually does. One scroll becomes a habit, one habit becomes a lifestyle, one lifestyle becomes personality. And suddenly, a person no longer chooses who they are consciously. They become the result of accumulated influence. That's why self-awareness is rare. Most people only notice change once it becomes visible. But by then, the most repetitions have already done their work. And this applies to everything. One moment of courage can rewrite an entire future. One person can completely alter the direction of your life. One decision can save you or destroy you. History itself changes through singular moments people underestimated at the time. The frightening thing about life is that you rarely know which one matters while it's happening. Most defining moments don't feel defining in real time. They feel ordinary. That's why people miss them. Humans keep waiting for life to announce itself dramatically. But reality whispers first, always. A small instinct, opportunity, discomfort, a small shift in behavior, and depending on whether you ignore it or follow it, your entire future quietly changes direction. That's why wise people pay attention to small things, because they understand something most people don't. Big things are usually small things that continued long enough. Greatness is not explosive in the beginning, neither is destruction. Both start invisibly. That's why discipline, standards, and daily choices matter. Not because one action magically changes your life, but because repetition compounds silently until it becomes reality. And by the time reality becomes visible, the process has already been happening for a long time. So never underestimate one. One thought can begin transformation. One fear can imprison a person for years. One moment can separate your old life from your new one. One decision can create a version of you that would have never existed otherwise. That's the weight of one. Not intensity, direction. Because in the end, life is rarely changed by one massive event. It is changed by small things that people were careless enough to call small.